One of my favorite things to serve with a steak or baked or grilled chicken are mushrooms and onions that are sautéed, buttery, and oh my gosh, delicious. And guess what? It is so easy to make them in your air fryer. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it. Welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today's recipe is really super simple. It's just mushrooms and onions with just a few other ingredients to add a little bit of flavor to them. And we're gonna air fry them. And I stumbled upon this quite by accident because I'm always sauteing onions and mushrooms on the stovetop because, you know, I wanna get them caramelized and golden brown and just that perfect deliciousness. But I didn't have time. I didn't want to stand over the stove. So I threw them in the air fryer with something else I was making. And guess what? They turned out amazing. I think even better because I like the texture of the onions better. And they still had that real buttery, delicious flavor. So let me show you how I did it because I know you're gonna love this if you love onions and mushrooms. So what I have is 8 ounces of mushrooms. You could, of course, use more or less. It depends on what air fryer you're using. I'm gonna use the Ninja Foodi dual air fryer because it's a basket style, and I figured a lot of people use a basket style air fryer. But my friends, I have made this by accident in the Ninja Foodi grill, the first time I tried it, where I didn't know if it was gonna work or not. I made it in the Ninja Foodi grill, so it works there the same way. And I've also tested the recipe in the Ninja Foodi and the Ninja Speedy, so guess what? You can make these mushrooms and onions in any air fryer you have, okay? So no worries about that. I sliced the onions into about 1/2 inch thickness, but you could make them a little thicker if you wanted. If you make them thicker, they're gonna take longer to cook. And then the mushrooms, what I did is I quartered them and I just trimmed the stem slightly because I like that shape. I like that bite when I'm serving mushrooms and onions. But if you prefer to slice your mushrooms, by all means, slice them up. I've done it that way, it works fine. Throw them all into your air fryer basket. Now, usually if I'm not doing a video, I will bring the air fryer basket out and set it here, but because of where the camera is, I'm gonna keep it there so that you can see what I'm doing a little bit easier. And how I cut the onion was I simply cut it in half from root to stem, and then I take sharp knife, take off the top there, peel that first layer of paper, and sometimes the first layer of onion needs to come off too. And this is a Vidalia, a sweet onion. You could use any kind of onion though that you like. I mean, you could even use a red onion if you wanted. It's not gonna make any difference. And then just take your sharp knife and go straight down in about 1/2 inch slice and make sure that you get some to fall off the cutting board because that's always fun. Okay, clean up. And there we go. So just dump all those in, make sure that you don't put any paper in there. Now, if you wanted to put a little bit of garlic in there, you could put some minced garlic in. I might be tempted to add that halfway through just so you don't accidentally burn the garlic because that gives a terrible flavor to everything that's gonna be in the basket. So we don't want that. All right, next thing is 2 tablespoons, which I don't usually measure, but this is a recipe, so let's be precise. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Between 1/8 and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And really that just depends on how much you like black pepper. If you really like black pepper, add in the whole 1/4 teaspoon. I don't recommend going any more than that at the beginning, okay? You can definitely add more at the end. Then I'm adding 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Again, I don't recommend adding more than 1/4 teaspoon of fine grind sea salt or kosher salt in the beginning. You can add more to taste at the end. But I found when I started off with 1/2 teaspoon that it was a little bit too salty. And when I tried to add more pepper in the beginning, it was a little too peppery for me. And I like pepper. So I like to keep the spices pretty simple. Then just mix it up. Now, I'm gonna give you a couple of other options that you can put in here. And of course, you can put any kind of seasonings that you really love. I like thyme. I've done this without thyme, and I just happen to like with thyme. So I'm just going in for a pinch, okay? So a pinch would be just between 1/8 and 1/4 of a teaspoon, just a little bit of dried thyme. The other option would be to do the mushrooms and onions, to cook them all the way through, and then to put some fresh thyme in. That would be lovely as well. And then another really nice addition, which is gonna give you almost that marinated mushroom and onion taste, is going to be 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. Totally optional. If you don't like balsamic, you wanted to use red wine, you absolutely could. So add that into your air fryer. The other thing I wanted to mention is I'm directly on the bottom of the air fryer. I'm not using the rack. So if you have a rack or something that goes into your air fryer, don't use that. Just put this right on the bottom of your air fryer, as long as you're able to do that with this model of air fryer that you have. Because we want the juices to kind of mix. You know, it's kind of dry right now. So we want, as it cooks, we want the mushrooms and the onions, as they reduce, the juices are gonna mix with the olive oil and the balsamic, and that creates, oh my gosh, the most delicious flavor. All right, so turn your air fryer on. No need to preheat for this recipe, which is always nice because it makes it a little easier. And I'm using basket 2 because it's closer to me and it's where the camera is, but you could use 1 or 2 if you have the dual, or you could, you know, you only have 1 basket, you use that obviously. All right, so select air fry if you have multiple options like I do. Take your temp up to 400 degrees. Take your time up to 30 minutes. It doesn't take 30 minutes to do this, but I like to have that extra just in case. I mean, you know, because all air fryers are gonna cook a little bit differently. So just go ahead and set your time up to 30 minutes. Usually it takes about 20 minutes. Now I'm gonna let it go for 10 minutes before I check on it, if I can handle that, because I'm impatient sometimes. So sometimes I'll check on it at 8 minutes, but don't check it before then because hardly anything happens by then, okay? So let it go at least 8 minutes and then check it. We're gonna toss it around and let it finish cooking until those onions and mushrooms are perfectly cooked. All right, so it's been a little over 8 minutes. Let's go ahead and check on our mushrooms and onions. They're looking really good. We can see some of the liquid down in the bottom. Now make sure you toss these around really well so they get coated again. And then just keep on going. And we'll check them again in another 8 to 10 minutes. So after Jeff saw the mushrooms and onions, he's like, okay, I'm officially hungry. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't even have anything for lunch. What are we gonna do? He's like, do we have any cheese? Like, I'll just eat some cheese. And I'm like, oh, you know what? With these onions and mushrooms, I have a frozen chicken breast and I have some Swiss cheese. Let's do that. So that's what I'm gonna try. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I have a totally frozen chicken breast. It's about 7 ounces. I'm gonna put a little bit of salt on it. I already put a little bit of oil so that I knew that the salt and pepper would stick. Yes, I'm gonna use my hands. I will wash it, it's fine. And there we go. Now I'm gonna plop this in. I can't use those tongs. I keep reaching for them, but I can't because I want to use those for the mushrooms. So we're gonna just plop that in. It's right in the bottom. I don't even have the rack in. I'm not gonna worry about it. And now I'm gonna set my number 1. We're gonna go to air fry. I'm gonna go at the highest temperature since we are frozen, and 20 minutes. And that's good. Let's just hit start. Okay. I have no idea if this is gonna work, guys, but if it does, we're gonna have a delicious lunch. All right, let's give them a little check. They smell amazing, and they look amazing. All right, now, at this point, they look beautiful. But what I want you to do is take an onion and a mushroom out, or a few onions, and taste them so that you know that they are the right texture for you. But look at this beautiful mushroom. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And these onions, oh, perfection. Oh. Oh my gosh. They're great. They are perfect for me. However, I think a lot of people would like them a little bit softer. So just keep cooking. If you think they're browning too much, decrease your temperature. If you want to put a little bit more liquid in there, you know, like oil, you can certainly do that too. But here is the secret ending. 2 tablespoons of butter. Mix it around in there a little bit. Close this, and then we are gonna pause the air fryer on this side, okay? All right, so it's been about 8 minutes for the chicken breast. I'm just gonna check on that now. It's definitely not cooked, but it'll get there. Once your onions and mushrooms sit in the air fryer for just 3 minutes or so, turned off with that butter, then you are ready to toss them around and put them into your bowl for serving. Look at this. Oh. And of course, you could taste them for, additional seasonings, like if you need salt, pepper, anything like that, extra thyme. I thought they were perfect. So I'm gonna leave them just the way they are, except for one thing. And that is just a little sprucing up with a little bit of parsley. Okay. That is really for looks only. So if you don't have any dried parsley or fresh parsley, skip it. But I do think that it adds just that little bit of green color that just makes it a little bit more visually appealing. So now we are ready to serve those with whatever we're making, but I have to wait on my chicken. So we'll be right back for that. All right, just a few minutes left here. So let's take a peek. Well, it looks like it definitely is cooking. Now, obviously, I'm gonna have to take an internal temperature. I don't quite think we're there yet. All right, so we're nowhere near done. But anyway, it's a video. We'll fast forward till it's done. I'll let you know how much time it took. All right. Oh my gosh, that looks so pretty. Look, from frozen, about 35 minutes. It looks like it's done. Let's take a temp here. It's 160. That's gonna be perfect because we're gonna go back in just for a few minutes here. So now let's put some of these delicious air fryer mushrooms and onions right on top, the best we can. This is kind of a puffy little chicken breast. And then top with our delicious cheese. And back in the air fryer. Probably about 3 minutes is all we need to melt that cheese. However, if you wanted to go longer because you wanted it to be golden brown, which I really prefer, you could. I probably should have taken the chicken out just a tad bit before. But anyway, it's gonna be delicious. All right, here we go. Wow. Every little last drop. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna let it cool. And there's so many things you can do with those mushrooms and onions. I mean, you could do it like I just did. Serve it with your favorite cut of steak. You could make it into an omelet, so you could use that to put into your omelets. You can throw leftovers into your spaghetti sauce. You can put it on a sandwich when you're making a cheesesteak. Oh my gosh, so many things. And they're so easy to make, and they're so delicious. All right, let's dig into this. I'll be interested, even though this video has nothing to do with chicken breast, I'll be interested to see whether or not air frying from frozen with the chicken breast made it dry or anything, you know? All right, first thing I'm gonna do is take a little bite here with some of the Swiss cheese, because like, if you didn't wanna have the meat, I think putting some Swiss cheese over some of these onions and mushrooms and just serving that as a side dish would be amazing. Or you can make a cheese sauce and then bake it or even air fry it. Oh my gosh. Oh. Sign me up. Mmm. They are perfect. What I like about air fried mushrooms and onions over sauteed mushrooms and onions, so you get all the same flavors, but the onions hold their texture a little bit better so they're not as soft. And I personally love that. Oh my gosh. All right. Oh my goodness. There is nothing dry about that chicken. It is so flavorful. It's unbelievably delicious. So whether you make the chicken or not, definitely make these mushrooms and onions, and you will thank me after you do.